That's fantastic. What a great way to start. Here we are, scaling through structure. We've got Stephen Pope from My Amazon Guy here today. Stephen, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Austin.
Absolutely, absolutely. What kind of dog is that that we keep seeing in the background?
It's a Vizsla, 26th most popular breed in the United States. Very much a water bird dog.
I thought so, because I love those dogs. When I see them on a hiking trail, that's like the one dog I always stop there. You have the most beautiful dog.
The Velcro dog will follow you to the bathroom and sit in your pants.
It's fantastic. All right, we could talk dogs all day, but I really want to learn about you and your business. My Amazon Guy, I got an idea about what you do, but tell me a little bit about My Amazon Guy and how you got here.
Sure. So I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. We have about 500 employees around the world and about 400 brands that we serve. And what we do is we help brands build their businesses on Amazon. And the customer who buys on Amazon is pretty much in love with the platform. They go click a button, next thing, some boxes with some smiley faces show up, and the rest is history. But for sellers, it's a very different story. It's very difficult, in fact, and it's not passive income like a lot of the YouTube gurus might make you out to believe. So my job is to come in and help them overcome all of the hurdles that make Amazon difficult to sell on, but still worthwhile. And we'll do things like grow traffic in the form of PPC and SEO and improve conversion rates in the form of design and catalog management.
Nice. And I talk to people sometimes who are selling on Amazon and they're looking for marketing support. Our company does a lot of PPC with Google. We do some meta ads as well. We definitely do SEO. And I always say that Amazon is a different game. Do not help you with that. I can't do it. You need the experts. You need somebody like Stephen Pope. What is it about Amazon that makes it so unique and tough to navigate for sellers?
For starters, Amazon doesn't care about the seller, and so none of their programs prop them up, right? It's a great platform to be on, I'll be very clear, but I'm also a realist in the sense that it's very difficult. So first, let's establish why it's such a great platform. About 80% of the United States households are a Prime member, which is an astonishing statistic. And so
say it one more time.
About 80%, 80% of households in the United States are a Prime member. And so there is no other platform in the US that has that sort of hold on the US household. Realistically, Amazon is half the economy. And so because of that, and they're a monopoly, let's also be clear on that. They're 100% a monopoly. So because of that, you have to be on Amazon if you're in e-commerce and selling a product, or you're irrelevant, right? Because if you go on Walmart, it takes 10 times the effort to get 1/30th the result. If you try and go on Shopify, it's very difficult to convince somebody to buy your hot sauce or buy your soap on a website, right? It's just not easy. A typical conversion rate on a website, which you're an expert on, right? 1 or 2%, and you'd be happy with that, right? But on Amazon, it's 8 to 12% on average, right? So at the starting point, you have an easy to convert customer in front of you. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, you got to pay for that. And you'd be right. So about a third of your gross sale is going to go to Amazon in the form of referral fees, in the form of logistics fees, as well as PPC. But it's worth it. Why? Because you could get a business to $50,000 in monthly sales within 6 weeks. And you can't do that anywhere else as easily and as more like routinely as you can on Amazon. So therefore, greatest wealth transfer in my lifetime, a la Amazon. And it's been a big blessing in my life. And I bought the dream car, I bought the dream house, I've got 5 kids, hashtag never pull out. And there's just a lot of blessings in my life. Yeah, you got the subtle one. There you go. And then, but at the same time, it's difficult to navigate all this. And the reason for that is that the help files are bogus, the seller support's a joke, and Amazon is very much a shoot first, ask questions later company. And they have a bunch of black hat people that are trying to hijack the platform, hijack your listings, and it's very much a Wild West sort of situation. So Amazon puts all of the onus on the seller, and the seller is left wondering what the heck happened when some of these events occur.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to pack a lot of this because I've worked with some companies that do contract manufacturing, and I've talked to some of their customers to learn about who they are and what they're looking for. And it seems like everyone has this dream of, we're going to put something on Amazon, we're going to sell it, and then all the things are going to happen that happen to you except maybe the fifth kid.
That might have been true, by the way, 7 or 10 years ago on Amazon. Like, I've been selling on Amazon for companies for over a decade. And a decade ago, I was in the beta advertising programs. I was getting PPC clicks for 2 cents per click in position 1. Unheard of, right? Like, printing money days of Amazon. Today, PPC costs on Amazon are pretty much in parity with Google at this point. And so it replaced Google about 4 or 5 years ago as the number one place to start your search for a product. And so the costs for PPC are through the roof. They're even up like 35% in the last 2 years alone. And here's a fun fact. AWS, which is a gigantic Amazon behemoth, just got passed by Amazon's PPC for revenue. So they're making more money on ads today than they are in the cloud. That's an insane stat.
That is, you're throwing all sorts of insane stats. This is fantastic. So let's talk about today. Let's talk about where, if I'm a seller, let's say I've got this dream. Let's say I just have a dream of let's call it the passive income dream. I don't necessarily even care about the product. I might pretend I'm really passionate about something like electrolytes or a carnivore bar or something like that. But let's just say I'm really looking to get a product into Amazon and to navigate myself towards passive profitability. What is that route and what kind of investment am I looking at? And if we need to get more specific on product or whatever, we can throw in something together.
So the bootstrap budget, $2,000 or $3,000. Likelihood of success, not great. A typical budget, $10,000. Likelihood of success, at least 1 out of 3. And then a serious budget where you're like going ham, going all in, could be $20,000, $30,000. So depending on where the person is in their career or their investment portfolio and stance and all that, can answer that question. But I know a lot of people who will side hustle on Amazon, will experiment, will buy something off Alibaba, will file a trademark and build a brand on Amazon, bootstrapping it from day one. And the profits on that are better than the enterprise level companies trying to come in and do their thing, right? So when I was first selling on Amazon, I sold wine glasses with a personalization letter or on the wine glass. And my profits were like 30% net after all was said and done. But when I built a warehouse, when I started trying to manufacture stuff myself, when I tried to do all these creative things that entrepreneurs think they can pull off, my net profits became 15%. Then they became 12%. Then they actually last year became negative because I overinvested. And then I had a huge inventory position and then competition were coming in, hurt the prices. Chinese knocked off some of my listings and some of my creative, awesome stuff, undercut me. And then the PPC cost went up. Then Amazon added FBA fees for even low stock inventory. It's way more dynamic today. It's chaotic. And there's just a lot going on. So if you're a 65-year-old gentleman looking for passive income for an investment, stay in the stock market and put your money there, or stick it in a 4% interest account, checking account. This is not for you. But if you're somebody who's willing to put some time and effort in or hire somebody with expertise, you're going to have to pay your tax one way or another, right? So what I mean by pay your tax, so I'll share this example. So I sold a hot sauce bottle. I bought 1,000 of these MOQ. I paid $1,500 to build the label. The label's pretty cool. I'll put that up to the camera so you can see I made a real authentic label. And then this was out of my house and I was bootstrapping at the time. And so I sent 1,000 of these directly from the manufacturer to Amazon with the idea that they would do the prep work. So I paid Amazon to do prep work. They put bubble wrap around it. They've put the sticker on and all was good so far. And then I launched the product and I started getting inquiries from my customers. Turns out hot sauce was going everywhere. Hot sauce was all over the mail, hot sauce all over whenever somebody opened it, glass shards, you name it. And I was like, what's going on? Turns out Amazon was shipping my hot sauce in padded envelopes. And I'm like, I'm an Amazon expert. What the frick? Why are you doing this? They ship it in boxes. And they refused to. And today, if you were to sell this exact product, a glass bottle that's 5 pounds and shipped it into Amazon, and you told them to do the prep work, they would still, in 2024, ship it in a padded envelope. That's the tax I had to pay myself. And now every client that hires me that sells glass, I tell them, you must pre-box this individually before it gets to FBA, or your product will get damaged. So stuff like that.
Wow. And then that's going to go and hurt their profit margin right off the bat. But
I'll pay for myself immediately with that one thing. Yeah.
Wow. So are there any product categories or industries that you think would be a better place for someone to start on Amazon in 2024 than maybe some others?
Absolutely. I'm going to answer your question from a high level first, and then I'll get some specifics. So from a high level, I'm category agnostic, and I believe if you stick to what you know and understand, you're better off than trying to follow the data. So for example, when I was in high school, I was a competitive chess player. I was on the national circuit. I played in the US Chess Open. If I were to sell chess sets on Amazon, I would have a huge competitive advantage. I would be able to understand algebraic notation. I would understand why the vinyl board needs to be a certain thickness. I would understand triple weighted pieces and all the things that would go along with that. My competitors who also sell chess sets who were not competitive chess players will never be able to match my marketing or my understanding or my product quality. It will just never happen. And then something like Queen's Gambit comes along, boom, chess sets explode, 10x, everything's going right. But I would have had to do this before Queen's Gambit, not after, because now the market's inundated and the prices have all crashed and everybody's already bought their chess sets because of Queen's Gambit. So that's an example of sticking to what you know and understanding and still benefiting when a trend happens. But it would have to be with a long view, because all the companies that followed the trend, who jumped on the Queen's Gambit bandwagon, are now devastated post-explosion and basically will fold or go under in the next 2 years. So sticking to what you know, and I'll give you some opposite examples or some inverse just to hit this point home. If I were to try and sell bamboo dental floss, I'm going to lose to a dentist who is selling that, right? If I were to try and sell a supplement and I'm going to compete against a chemist who also does M&A and does jujitsu for fun, they're going to crush me. Reading data or sticking to categories based on trends, I don't advise that. You're better off sticking to what you understand, being an inch wide and a mile deep. Having said that, there are some great precautions to take when first picking out a product. For example, don't do supplements as your first product, just period, end of story. Okay? The PPC costs are $5 a click. It's insane. Why? Because LTV allows subscribe and save, and you can get multiple orders. And so it's just an over-invested competitive category. Every black hat tactic you've ever heard of, review manipulation, competitor attacks, all happen in that category. It's not a fun one to start in. Home goods, one of the easiest to start in. Still competitive, but PPC is more like 80 cents a click. And there's a lot of Me Too products. It's easy to white label. It's easy to private label. And a lot of benefits come from that. Now, there are other things like staying away from big and bulky and expensive. You may not want to do that as your first product, but as you become more of an expert on Amazon, as you pay your tax and learn it, selling on Amazon in a niche that other people are avoiding becomes your competitive advantage. So if you're going to sell a bulky item and it's expensive and you're the only one doing it, you can charge whatever you want and your profits go up. So to each their own in that sense, but picking and choosing and staying to what's way better despite all the other circumstances.
Okay. So I've seen a lot of companies that help others sell on Amazon. You know, one of the things that they typically talk about is they look at people who are already selling on Amazon and try to optimize what they're doing, right? And that's typically going to be easier. But the way that I've seen you brand the work that you're doing, you'll work with people right in the beginning, right? And you'll help navigate this journey. And it sounds like you're doing it with really realistic expectations, which I think as any consumer out there would say, that's just really refreshing to hear and really makes you understand that you're working with somebody that you're going to be able to trust.
I'm going to be biased to do that because I've been rewarded to do that, right? So it resonates and then more people flock to me. So of course I'm going to continue to doing it. People just don't understand when they get into this business, they do put on the rosy glasses. They start shooting Lambo videos and posting them on YouTube. I did that too, by the way, just to make fun of it, but not everybody got the joke. And so you just have to understand that, like, what position you take as a company will solve all of your problems, right? So as a company, I chose the framework that I'm an education company that happens to be an agency. Now, when I teach and tell my employees that, all of their decisions are made for them. Does it help people learn? Yes or no? If yes, do it. That's it. That's as simple as that, right? Like, high-level frameworks like that can dictate every single business decision. Because of that, I sell my SOPs, standard operating procedures. Because of that, I sell courses. Because of that, I share all of my trade secrets. And I've produced over 2,000 free videos on YouTube with literally everything that I do. Now, most people are not going to go through 2,000 videos. And after they get through the 20th, they're like, okay, I'm tapping out, right? And they'll call me up and be like, okay, Steven, take my money. But not everybody. Some people, all my competitors watch my content, replicate my stuff. So I came out with SEO phases, right? So phase 1 and 2 is about indexing. Phase 3 is about strike zone keywords and positions 20 through 50. Phase 4 is about market share. And each phase has its own strategy. I released that entirely publicly. And then I can tell you there are at least 20 other agencies that took my strategy verbatim, word for word, posted it on their own sites, do it for their own clients. And I'm okay with that, because my message is, it's not me against you, other Amazon agencies. It's all of us against Amazon. And the net benefit to having this position is that everybody comes to me for knowledge and learning, and some people will pay me along the way.
And so let's talk about the company, My Amazon Guy. You said you have 400 employees.
500, yes.
500. I'm so sorry.
That's
So help me understand what that trajectory was and how you were able to structure this scalability. Obviously, content led the way based on some of the things you were just saying, but how did you start as My Amazon Guy and now you've got 500 My Amazon guys and gals running around?
Yeah, the second person I hired was a woman, so I looked at my brand name and wondered why I did that. But I was in the laundry room. I just got laid off from my last job. They gave me a 3-month severance. I was making like $200,000. This was 6 years ago, so it's really good money, pre-inflation. And sincerely wondered if I had peaked in life, right? Like, I was like, nobody's going to hire a 30-year-old guy at $200K. Like, how did I get to where I was? And for 48 hours, I was sullen. I'd sulked. I was like, man, my life is over. And then it hit me. Why don't I just do it for myself? Just run my own company. I'm so tired of making other people millions of dollars. I want to make it for myself. It's exactly what I did. And within the first 90 days, I had produced $45,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue, or MRR. And I was able to just sustain that month in and month out, growing at phenomenal rates. We were on the 300 and something fastest growing company lists. We were on just 100% growth year in, year out. And it was very difficult. There was a time when I was at about 112 employees 3 or so years ago, and I was growing faster than I could hire. And I'm like, Rick, this whole thing is going to crumble. I have a 90-day run rate here, and then this thing's going to implode. Every agency ever has one of two problems. Either they have too many employees or not enough. Same problem worded a little bit differently. Either they have too many clients or not enough clients. So I had too many clients and not enough employees. So I decided that I was going to hire 100 interns in 30 days. And the reason I thought I could pull this off is because I was an education company. I'll just teach them all I know. No problem. We'll just do the most educating onboarding that's ever been done before in our space. And so I meet with the HR team. I'm like, hey, it's a Monday. Call an impromptu meeting. Hey, I want to hire 100 interns in 30 days. Make it happen. So 24 hours go by. Nothing had happened. So I called another impromptu meeting. I was like, hey guys, what did you do since yesterday? And I suspect at the time they just thought I was some crazy CEO spouting an idea and I'd be on to the next idea by the next week. But no, I was like super serious. This was my BHAG. This was my big, hairy, audacious goal. And I was going to make it happen. And so day 3 rolls around, still nothing had freaking happened. I called another impromptu meeting. I'm like, guys, I'm serious. If you guys don't send job offers by end of day today, I'm going to fire all of you. And 22 offers, to their credit, went out by 5 p.m. that day. And 20 of them, I'm pretty sure, accepted. And so we beat the 30-day goal. We hired 100 interns in 30 days. It was a highly successful program, made big waves in our industry, and we became the number one place to start. Now, there's a lot of advantages to the system. Obviously, I get away with lower salaries. I took advantage of the Philippines and some talent pools there, some hungry, eager, and capable talent over in the Philippines. But I also created careers for people. I created jobs. So I get to go to sleep at night knowing that I have helped create 516 jobs. There's no greater feeling than that, right? It's even better than charity work, because it's like the concept of teach a man to fish versus give him a fish, right? So like I am helping them for their entire lives by building their career. So that was a big part of our journey, and how I got to where I was is just learning how to crack multiple BHAGs, one BHAG after another, big, hairy, audacious goals.
Nice. And so when you hired 100 people, what did you have? I assume you didn't have they had to have something to do every day, right? So,
I had plenty of things, but at first I had to teach them.
Gotcha. So how long was that education ramp?
So they generally had somewhere between 60 and 90 days of just nonstop learning. But one of the best ways to learn is to actually do the work. And so as an agency, you have a nonstop pile of things that can be done, and then you have another pile of things that must be done. So you clear the must be done, then you get to the want to do's, and then after you clear that, you start making work. And so that's what we did. And so right around day 90, we found the parity, and we slowed it. We slowed the internship program, but we still, in the last couple of years, we've probably hired more than 350 interns, people with zero Amazon experience, took them in, taught them everything they know. Even when I hire for the sales team, I prefer to hire people without Amazon experience, because I think that a person who's good at sales does more listening than talking. Like a consultative sales session is far superior, has a higher conversion rate, closes more contracts, etc. So me asking things like, tell me about your setup, what's going on, all the pain funnel type sales tactics, and doing listening. So I found my niche in being an education company. There's no other agency that will ever say things as weird as I do, that I'm an education company first and then an agency second. That concept does not resonate with my customers, by the way. They don't see me as an education company, despite the fact that half the people that hire me have watched 20 of my videos first. So they wouldn't describe it that way, but they still fall into the following in that sense.
Okay. And what have been some of your customer acquisition models? Obviously, you just said that people have seen 20 of your videos many times when they come in. Is it all been content? Were you doing SEO and paid outside of Amazon? How are acquiring customers?
So I can show a little bit of a visual for this if you'd like. So there are 4 quads to lead acquisition. This is very much an Alex Hormozi type style. So warm outreach, people you know, this is 1-to-1. So my first client was acquired by making a LinkedIn post, and one of my former bosses referred me to somebody else, and I signed my first contract within 48 hours with a supplement company. That supplement company is still with me 6 years later. So my first client still with me 6 years later.
No.
The second way is through content. So that and so although I made a piece of content, it was really a warm outreach because my friend introduced me. The second is content, and this got me up to a $10 million ARR, so annually recurring revenue. And through content, I had major inbound acquisitions. And this is typically how those conversations would go. Steven, I've watched 20 of your videos. I want you to take care of me. We spend 15 minutes where they fanboy me, and then I'm like, cool, here's how much it costs. And they say yes or no. And that's a really strong model. It's very easy to replicate. The tough part is making the content. The third is now we're getting into cold outreach, a la strangers in the blue over here. And cold outreach is cold emails, cold calls. So I couldn't get past the 10 million mark unless I started entering quad 3, cold outreach. And this is how I got to $20 million in ARR. Very successful. The first sales account executive I hired is still with me 2.5 years later, but I've only been doing cold outreach for 2.5 years. And then the fourth, this is the one I'm just starting to scratch the surface on, and that's run paid ads. And ironically, it's, even though I run paid ads for Amazon brands highly successfully on the platform, running paid ads for a service, totally different ballgame. You probably have more experience doing it than I do. And that acquisition model is the most expensive. It's the least ROI. Still worth doing. I'm getting around an 8.5 on the ROI, but harder to crack, harder to know if it's working. And then my sales team is getting some leads that are like, I hate this. Why are you sending this my way? And so there's all kinds of complications that come from that. But that's my quad. And this is how I plan to get to 50 million. A lot of other agencies in our space, they end up just acquiring other agencies. I'm not an M&A guy. I don't know how to do that. So everything I've done has been built from the ground up.
Nice. That's really cool. And yeah, I think when it comes to paid ads, what I always say is so much of marketing growth is this combination of an art and a science. And paid ads typically becomes the most scientific thing that you have. And so it becomes this, I spend X, I get Y, but it takes a lot of time and A/B testing to figure out what those numbers are. So it sounds like you're just at the beginning of that journey, right?
Yeah, we're about 7 months in, and we've acquired about 23 clients through paid acquisition. I feel pretty good about it, but I need to acquire like 100 more, and then I'll feel like I'm a master at it. So we'll see what happens. But it's been a good run. A couple of key things that we've done. We onboarded a CRM, but it was after 3 years, which is proof that you can get away with putting everything into a Google Sheet in your first couple of years, which is what we did. And then I automated how we do our bids. So I have no sales director. This is what some people will say, that if you don't have a sales director, then you're the sales director, and they'd be correct. But I can leave my sales team alone. They don't have to come to me to pitch a contract. They know exactly how to pitch every single scenario, and I've automated it in a calculator. And they just fill the calculator out. They know exactly what their commission is. They know exactly the rules, and the customer can say yes or no to it and all that good stuff. And we also automate sending the contracts. So it's really cool. If we were on a sales call right now, I'd ask you a couple of questions. I push a button, and boom, you have a contract in your inbox, and it's ready to roll, which is awesome considering we have an 8-day average on sales cycle, which is unheard of in most verticals. But because I made the sales process so seamless, I was able to keep that 8 days and take advantage of it. So we have a lot of same-day sign contract meetings. So first time we meet, they sign contract same day.
Nice. Yeah, I always joke that it's great when you get the quick starts, right? People are like, this sounds great, I'm ready to go. Yeah.
And they typically make the best customers because they're already bought in.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I saw on your deck you had HubSpot. Is that the CRM you
Yes.
You automate everything? Yeah. We're Salesforce, or not Salesforce. We're HubSpot partners, and we see this a lot. What you said is like, hey, we've been doing this all with Google Sheets. We've grown to the point where now it's time to really up our game, get us on this platform, and show us how to make our lives so much easier. And what a cool use case to come at unexpectedly here, because when I have to pitch people, I have to essentially give them the promise of what you've already done. I think that's really cool. And
it works.
Right? It is. It's a fantastic tool. Do you have any other integrations within HubSpot? Are you integrating it with other platforms?
Yes. So I like to make the claim that we're probably one of the top 1% in the world for being a low code, no code environment. So we have on staff 10 or so people dedicated to just setting up Zaps, right? It's insane how many things we've zapped around, but there's some benefits to this. We're agile AF, right? Like I have an idea and I want to execute it in 48 hours. I can do that, which is important in an agency world where you have to put dinner on the table at 5:00 when customers come in. Like, you have to deliver. I did. And we've talked a lot about the things I've done right. I also want to mention some mistakes I've made. I think it's important. You can learn more from mistakes from a successful company than you can from a non, right? I spent $2 million trying to build my own tech stack internally. I tried to build my own CRM, project management software, keyword tool, PPC automation, and time tracker all in one. Spent $2 million trying to do that. When we started doing user testing, nobody liked it. I couldn't see a pathway forward, and I shelved the project right there. And it's a $2 million investment that I got zero ROI on, and it was very difficult to grapple with that. But at the same time, at least I didn't waste $3. At least I didn't waste $4 million. And so I cut it off at one point. It was a sunk cost. Mm-hmm. So not everything I touch is golden goose. And there are other mistakes I can walk through and explain, like how we handled it, what we did, and how well we learned from it. But in my opinion, taking action right? Like my spirit animal is a hummingbird, and flapping my wings and just getting the nectar. If I take 10 actions, statistically speaking, I'm very confident that at least 3 will be solvent and make me money. And 3 will probably break even and do nothing for me. And then 4 will just actually waste me money. And as long as I take 10 actions frequently, as often as possible, weekly or otherwise, my businesses just continue to grow.
That's awesome. So I want to shift gears just a little bit here. Tell me about the role of structure and systems in your personal life. You got 5 kids. You're at a couple 500 people. There's a lot of people that rely on you to have it together. How do you keep it all in check?
So there is one benefit of working remotely and having no physical building and having everything congruent. So if one of my kids walked in right now, I would sit them on my lap and continue doing the podcast. And I actually do that. Just knowing the intersections of your life and business and personal are inevitable, right? So I work all the time so I can choose to not work sometimes, right? So I am a workaholic, I am an entrepreneur, but at the same time, if a Tuesday rolled around and I wanted to go to the flower gardens with the family, I could do it on a heartbeat, reschedule my day, no problem. And I do that as well. And so after our podcast today, I'm going to go take the boys over to scouting, and I run a class of 8 and do scouting as well. So I believe that life is, I believe it's possible to find prosperity in all ways, physically, spiritually, work, everything. I want to be rich, but I also want to be prosperous. And I think if one of those buckets becomes too low, it affects all of the buckets. Like I think all ships rise together in a sense. And if I had to tell you which bucket I think is the weakest, I think it's my physical health. And so I started doing jujitsu. I'm 5 sessions in. I needed a coach to yell at me so I wouldn't give up when it hurt, right? I've learned I have to keep my head off the ground. My neck is just throbbing all the time now. And I have to go, obviously, continue this habit 30 times before it becomes a true habit. But just knowing that my body's a temple, I got to take care of it. I got to take care of my family, and I got to take care of the business and just keep it all together. But there's also some easy choices I made in life. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't drink alcohol. Right. And I don't party. Right. So there's a lot of net benefits to that. But when a guy like me gets a brain scan and it comes back, whoa, your brain is 10 years younger than it should be. That's the benefit that I will have in my life because I treat myself in the same way that I would want to hire an employee to work for my company.
Yeah, nice. And I think what you said about your body is really common with entrepreneurs. I know a lot of people are different parts of this journey. I hit that wall about 5 years ago, where I was like, wait a minute, like I got to get this in order. I was in my mid 30s, like not now. And so to do that, you got to find those things that inspire you and challenge you. And it's really cool that you found jujitsu. I like to swim. I like to run. I don't love lifting weights, but I know it's important. So sometimes I find myself in classes that require that. But
I installed a tonal system. My arms and my core gained 86% strength since last July when I started it. My legs have only gained 6%. And I'm still scratching my head how I can't get my legs to cooperate. But there you go.
That's fantastic. Steven, this has been great, man. I really appreciate the conversation, and the stuff you're doing in My Amazon Guy is really awesome. Next time I hear somebody with a pipe dream to make it big on Amazon, I'm going to send them your way. And
I appreciate that, Austin. Thank you.
Yeah, you tell them if they have a shot or not. Great. So thanks so much for being here. Where can the audience find you?
So generally, I hang out on LinkedIn and YouTube. And so if you go type in My Amazon Guy and you want to watch some content, there's a piece of content no matter where you are in your step of your journey, soup to nuts, advanced to beginner. And then I'm prolific on LinkedIn. I post several times a day, everything you could possibly imagine about Amazon, business, and family all in one. So hope you guys check me out.
We just connected, so I appreciate the warning. Awesome. Thanks so much, Steven. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Austin.